Hello, my name is Dale DuFay, and like many of you that are interested in this video, I'm affected with the Mandela Effect. And to me, as many of you know, it's a great honor and a privilege to be a part of this because what it's revealing is that we have existences in completely different realities, and the proof being Earth. I mean, look at this thing. It's literally only 24,800 miles in circumference, and it is way smaller than the Earth we recall. So, what could it be? Did the Earth change overnight? That's impossible. Did the solar system relocate 75,000 light years overnight? That's impossible. This Earth obviously has always existed. It's been here for eons in this sector of the galaxy, very close to the galactic center, where astrophysicists in the reality we recall didn't even think life could exist. But here we are. This is a completely different reality and a completely different Earth, and that's the amazing thing about what the Mandela Effect is revealing. This obviously is a completely different Earth. It obviously could not have changed overnight. It obviously. So what else could it be? It's a completely different reality that we have always existed in. And that's the really remarkable thing about the Mandela Effect. It's showing that quantum entanglement is the basic fundamental foundation to life. It's interesting, there's an article I was just reading yesterday about how since the 60s it's been postulated that our consciousness is on a quantum level. But of course, it was, it was people didn't believe that was possible, simply because in order to perform quantum entanglement experiments, if you will, it has to be like in below freezing. Like it's like 200 and some degrees below zero. That's even colder than space. That's what quantum computers, their chips are in that kind of, refrigeration, and that's what it takes. But some of the experiments they conduct are, in room temperature. There's this basic dispute that things like in, our basically the physics we know, this tangible reality we live in, couldn't possibly be quantum entangled because of that fact that it has to be such low temperatures. But the Mandela effect's revealing that that's not the case. Now, the article did mention how some of our brain cells are tubular, uh, very unusual, which would, hint at them being quantum, in this quantum entanglement. With what? Scientists are very confused, but the Mandela effect is, again, showing us that our brains are indeed totally quantum and entangled with what the Mandela effect's revealing, other completely different replica versions of ourselves that have been sharing our consciousness since the day we were born in these other completely different realities and completely different locations in the Milky Way galaxy. I say this a lot. It's not, there's really no argument that there's possibly this, parallel existence. But the parallel universe theory goes on basically this premise that whatever decisions we can make, we will make. In other words, if we do have other realities, this theory claims, or then they're completely different because of the different choices we could have made throughout life. I always thought that would seem impossible because there's just so many different choices on a daily basis throughout, in my case, 62 years of life. There would have to be incredible different realities, but that's not the case. And furthermore, the Mandela effect's revealing that it's not dimensions that separates our realities like it's believed in the multiverse theory and the parallel universe theory. They assume it's dimensional. But that's what's so amazing about the Mandela effect, and what it's revealing is it's not dimensional. It's all in this one dimension, which there is infinite room to have multiple realities, infinite, no doubt. realities that we have, you know, in this one dimension. So it is distance that separates our realities, not dimensions. And that's what the Mandela Effect's revealing. And it's also revealing that I know this is true in my case that virtually every single reality that I've been privileged to visit, this portion of my soul, the one I'll always have, visit other replica versions of myself in this other realities. Every single reality has been virtually identical except for things like the earth being so different. It doesn't change, the reality as a whole in my life. Every decision I made, every replica version of myself made the exact same decision. And there's that quantum entanglement. Whatever you're doing, whatever all the other replica versions of yourself are doing, and they're doing exactly what you are doing. So it's really remarkable. There's no, we all make the same decisions in every one of these realities. Of course, there's going to be some people that it's going to be different because of, some hiccup may have happened in your personal history or the history of your family, which is bound to happen. And that's the miracle, really, that it doesn't happen more often. But for the most part, everything is virtually identical, regardless of how different the Earth is in these realities. There's a lot of these. I call them Orion dwarfers. I at least 100. No, and again, I believe it's infinity as far as the amount of realities we have, not just within this galaxy, but the galaxies are obviously parallel too, because that's what the Mandela Effect's revealing, that everything from atoms to constellations are parallel and quantumly entangled within this Milky Way galaxy, which would indicate that the galaxies are parallel too. So this could be infinite, this whole thing. And it's revealing too, the first thing that really came to my mind when this was all happening is, wow, just how incredible us human beings really are. And that's why what the Mandela Effect's revealing doesn't want to, the powers to be, I call them opposition forces in that spirit realm with their human confederates. They do not want us to know about this. So they're going to confuse this subject as much as they can, believe me. And they're doing a good job because, it's so impossible to prove anything when it comes to the Mandela Effect that it's real easy to misunderstand what it's doing. And those opposition forces would love nothing better than us to be confused, homesick, scared, feeling like, we didn't have a decision in this and what's happening to us, and they blaming human facilities like CERN and things like that. And I know I did early on, but it soon became apparent that there's no way that a human experiment on a little itty bitty little dot on the Earth, somewhere in there is CERN, and at this distance, at 2,420 miles from the surface of the Earth, we couldn't pinpoint it at all. It's just a little spot on the Earth. So how could in comparison to the Earth, even these dwarfers, how could a puny little speck on Earth with us puny humans experiment, make our souls basically go into what scientists call superposition in this quantum realm and shift into other realities? This is really remarkable. Again, there's no reason to be homesick, even though this isn't the Earth you recall. It still is your home, and you could say that with confidence simply because you are here, and you've always been here. You've always had this reality. It just was another portion of your soul in this replica version of yourself that's existed since the day you were born. Even time is different, but our realities are the same because the time remains the same. I could do entire videos about time. And how basically the Mandela Effect's revealing that time is irrelevant. And that's, again, I've always kind of suspected that because after all, it was us human beings that invented time because of our finite existence. But the Mandela Effect's, revealing so many remarkable things. And this quantum entanglement, if you think about it, we couldn't even exist without it. That's why some people even think that, you know, the Mandela Effect is making these different realities. But these, basically, the Mandela Effect's revealing things that have always been that we have never known about. This quantum entanglement with multiple existences on multiple Earths and multiple realities has always been. Even the dinosaurs had this. I always mention it because the fossil records are on every single Earth. The Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago, Illinois, has the famous Tyrannosaurus Rex named Sue. And that Tyrannosaurus Rex named Sue is on every single Earth, displayed in every single Field Museum of Natural History in every single city called Chicago and every single state called Illinois and in the United States of America, regardless of the size of it. I mean, it's just remarkable how small the United States of America is, especially from east to west. It's 1,000 miles less from, east to west coast than I recall in the reality. That this portion of my soul originated from. A reality that still exists, a reality that is still there. You're still there. Nobody died causing this Mandela effect. That's not to say it doesn't happen, because look at Nelson Mandela. But that reality is still there with that Earth, with a continent called Antarctica on the North Pole, where no such continent even exists. Here's 90 degrees north. But that's not, again, it's not our memories that are faulty. Those realities exist and they're still there. You're still there. There's just another portion of your soul in that replica version of yourself where this portion of your soul originated. So nothing happened to that reality. We know this because then, whatever happens to those Earths and those realities is going to happen to these Earths and these realities. We know this because you could look in history, geological history, weather history, history of humanity, and they're all virtually identical. But there are variations and differences which we've come to expect, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty. I mean, look at this. Even the solar system is different. I've always said that the larger the scale, the more variations and differences we'll see, like the Earth, like the solar system, like the constellations. We're going to see many variations and differences. But the smaller the scale, like our own personal lives and, things like that, the smaller the scale, the less variations and differences we'll see. In my case, it's amazing. Every replica version of myself is identical for the most part, except for, of course, internally. I'm still amazed at how large the heart is in these realities in humans, and the location being in the center of the chest, and the reality that this portion of my soul recalls. And the Sagittarius Super Earth, some 75,000 light years from here on the outer reaches of this Milky Way galaxy. Those hearts and those replica versions of ourselves, many of us recall, were completely off-center on the left side of the chest. So, it's, many of us recall it, plus much, like I said, much smaller. I recall that vividly simply because I had, cardiac issues. So I was very aware of the heart's location and the size and things like that. I had to even get an angiogram, I recall. But this replica version of myself obviously had to go through all that as well, but the hearts are so much more robust, just like our bodies are in general. But no doubt these bodies were built to suit the particular Earth they were created on. That's amazing what the Mandela Effect's revealing. Who would have ever known that we've had all these other replica versions of ourselves that have been sharing our soul since the day we were born? So yes, those scientists that postulate that our consciousness is on a quantum level are indeed very correct, because we wouldn't even exist without it. They're starting to, like I say, they're just starting to tap into it and starting to realize that this potential actually exists. Because, again, it's always been this way. Existence wouldn't, even happen without this quantum entanglement that the Mandela effect is revealing. Again, I always refer to this as the sacred secret in prophecy and revelation. That's, chapter 10, verse 7, is the Mandela effect. That's one of the something I've always wondered about what that verse meant. And lo and behold, here it's the Mandela effect. And lo and behold, here it's happening. So that should be something very comforting for all of us, that this is a major prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. But the irony of it is, of course, the religions are not having anything to do with it. Here it's one of the most incredible spiritual prophecies to fulfill in humanity that has ever occurred in the history of humanity. And here, ironically, the religious organizations won't even address the issue. So, but that just goes to show that, all religions, there's no such thing as a true religion, one true religion. They're all basically the same. And they're not, again, the Mandela effect is, we don't need those organizations to teach us what the Mandela effect is teaching us. And it's teaching us remarkable spiritual things without the dogma of religion. And that's the beauty of this. I firmly believe that that's what the Mandela effect was meant to do, was to educate us on things that have always been, that we've never known about. Now we know what creation and life is all about. It's incredible. It's things that human beings have been searching for since the very beginning. Certainly, Adam and Eve didn't even know about this quantum entanglement. They didn't know that there was multiple replica versions of themselves throughout the entire Milky Way galaxy in multiple different realities that are virtually identical, regardless of the size of the Earth, regardless of the distance from point A to point B and things like that. It doesn't matter. There's always this quantum entanglement. And later I'll get into videos about how things that prove that we have this quantum entanglement. One of my favorites is the deja vu and REM. Sleep is essential. These are things that all of us experience, and in particular, REM sleep is very essential for our consciousness. And these are things that are a mystery to science and in the medical field. They don't understand why we need this, but they do understand that it is essential. But those of us affected with the Mandela effect know what happens during REM sleep and why it's so essential. I firmly believe that that's the time when all your soul portions in all the replica versions of yourself, regardless of how far away they are, remember, quantum entanglement knows no boundaries. Science is finding this out as well. But regardless of how far apart your consciousness is, you'll always have that connection. And this is things that the Mandela effect is revealing. It's remarkable what it is. So these are, like the REM sleep is everybody experiences it. We know why we need it, but again, that's why I firmly believe that it is when all of our soul portions are in synchronization, and this is something we were always unaware of, but we know why now. We have the answer to questions that science has been asking for hundreds of years. Again, the experience of deja vu. Why do we experience that? I mean, I was always very curious as to why that happens. It happens to every one of us at least once in our life. We have this very strange sensation that we've been here before, but we know we never have. But the Mandela effect revealing the fact that we have these multiple different realities, throughout the Milky Way galaxy. It's, we were at one of those replica versions of ourselves that have been sharing our soul in these multiple realities, was in that room before you were, before the other portions of your soul were in the other realities. And even that replica version of yourself that was in that room first, perhaps 30 seconds before you were, perhaps a split second before you were, perhaps even a day before you were. Who knows? With the vast distances involved here, when it comes to the Milky Way galaxy, there's bound to be some sort of delay. That's why we experience deja vu. But like I said, even the replica version of yourself that entered that room initially, before any other replica version of yourself had, is even going to have that sensation of deja vu because of that quantum entangled connection. Because every portion of our soul that is splintered and fractured but is still one soul, has, this infinite boundary. And they always are constantly connected. But it's a subconscious level. That's why we're so unaware of it all along. There's been Eastern religions or some even local organizations that always believe that our soul was splintered and fractured. And indeed, the Mandela Effect is vindicating them. It is. It is. And that's because of this, the quantum entanglement, when, which is the basic fundamental foundation of life and existence, wouldn't even, there wouldn't be no such thing as life if we didn't have these other realities, these other multiple replica versions of ourselves that are quantumly entangled. I mean, everything has it, not just humans, of course, not just those of us that are affected with the Mandela effect, everybody around us. And that's why they don't understand what we're going through, because they still have the original soul portion that they were born with. So they're totally oblivious. To them, everything is exactly as it should be because they're in their original reality. Why it's happening to just some of us is a mystery. I'm sure it's for a reason. It's not to make us look crazy or anything, but again, it's for purely for education. It's teaching us things that science has always questioned, that academia has always wondered about, and we are being shown the answer by experiencing the Mandela effect, by going through this superposition as our souls shift, or portions of our souls shift into other replica versions of ourselves. You got to realize that when it happens to you, it's happening to all the versions of yourself at the exact same time. I always liken it to musical chairs. They're all shifting at the same time, except there's no elimination in this musical chair version of the Mandela effect. That's not to say that's not going to happen. Again, that's what's great about Nelson Mandela being the namesake for this phenomenon, because we know he didn't exist in every reality. After in the 80s, the 1980s, but so obviously the same could be very true for our reality. We may not exist in every reality because of some unforeseen circumstance that happened to your own history or to yourself, or in any particular reality. It's not going to happen in every single one of them, even though there is that quantum connection. Again, mostly it's like I said, it's remarkable that doesn't happen more often. But that's that quantum entanglement. It must be maintained at all times. And we see that with airliners, things that go in excess of 500 miles an hour. So we see that quantum entanglement being maintained. We get to witness it. We get to watch airliners stall out in midair as their counterparts catch up on the Sagittarius Super Earth. It's ironic. I mean, science it's a mystery to them why planes stall out in these realities. Of course, they're not thinking that in them terms. They're thinking, why are the planes stalling out? They're not saying in this reality or anything, because to them, reality has always existed and there's none other. But we, being allowed to experience all these different realities, know why the planes stall out here in midair and not fall out of the sky. It's because they're trying, they need to, because otherwise they'll reach the destination way sooner than the other realities will reach their destinations. Of course, there is going to be variations. That's why we always have jet lag. Those, who experience that why would we experience that? Doesn't make any sense. Our soul doesn't know, our brain doesn't know we're crossing into different time zones. So that the obvious explanation is, thanks to the Mandela Effect revealing this, is because there's in different realities the distance is much greater, 1,000 miles in some cases. Many of your other realities where replica versions of yourself exist and maybe taking that flight as you are going to get there much, much later. So you're going to, all the replica versions of yourself are going to experience that sensation of jet lag until they're all back into synchronization. After they've all reached the hotel, they'll all settle down and go into the next day, and then gradually everything gets back into this quantum entangled, I don't want to say perfection, because there is really, it's not going to happen. But the thing is until everything gets back into synchronization, and that could take several days. That's why you could have that sensation of jet lag for that long. But the greater the distance, the more you're going to feel it. And you don't feel it while you're driving, because the speed is much less. So the versions of yourselves and the realities where the distance is less, it's not going to be such a vast amount of time difference when the arrival time is what I'm getting at, when you're going slower. But the faster you are and the greater distance and the greater speed, the sensation of jet lag will prevail. But the mystery solved. We know why that is. It's incredible. And that's what the Mandela Effect's meant to do, to educate us in the best way possible by being shown. It's better than being told. Nobody told me. To me, it's very obvious what the Mandela Effect's revealing. Once you get over the fear factor and who did it and trying to point fingers, instead of getting down into the meat and potatoes and understand what this is revealing and why this is happening, then the answers are very obvious. It's showing us we live in these incredible different realities. These, we've always been here. We were born on this earth, and we're still there. I always like to think that the replica version of myself, that this portion of my soul originated, has a portion of my soul that is from this area of the Milky Way galaxy on these dwarf Earths, because they get to experience the drastic difference of being from a dwarf Earth and now being on a super Earth, where I was from a super Earth, now on a dwarf Earth. Every portion of your soul is experiencing the exact same thing you are. And every portion of your soul, once you have a positive attitude about all this and gaining knowledge from all this, after the positive attitude, you're not going to get it when you have a negative attitude. But once you have a positive attitude, then the knowledge is right there. Then when you do that, then you know all the other replica versions of yourself that are sharing your soul and experiencing this phenomenon are feeling the same way. That's why it's important. It's like contagious. It can go either way. If you're negative about it and pointing fingers and blaming CERN and other quantum mechanic experiments and things like that, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be confused and think that people went around and changed the earth. Google changed the earth. Google's doing this to confuse us and things like that. But that's not the case at all, because you can look at any globe anywhere on the face of the earth and it's going to represent and show this exact same earth. You can watch TV programs where they show a globe or an atlas in the background and see that they're going to show this earth. So they can't go around and change everything. And that's a word we have to get out of our vocabulary, because things are not changing, they're just different. So enjoy what the Mandela Effect's revealing, and that's basically all I can say about it. I'm not going to say this information was given to me. Again, it's right there in front of everybody's eyes. It's just for need to reach out and grab it, and it's there for all of us. It's teaching us, remarkable things. So I thank you for watching, and we'll Google trout at you later. Love you.